Here's what's coming up on the Cold Popcast.
Shaking is such a primal practice of releasing trauma and somatic blockages and emotions through our body, especially our hips.
Twerking more will help reduce like feminine reproductive issues. It'll get your lower tensions in action. Your chakras are going to be on 10. Your chi is going to be so liberated.
Oh, man. What's poppin', everybody?
Welcome back to the Cold Popcast.
I'm Zoe.
And I'm Steve.
And today we got another fun one for you. We're going to be talking about, or we're going to be reacting to a video of a woman who's going to break down twerking and its connection to spirituality.
Yeah, apparently twerking is a spiritual practice now. So let's see what this lady has to say.
Let's see what she's got for us.
Shaking is such a primal practice of releasing trauma and somatic blockages and emotions through our body, especially our hips. Our hips, now we know, is where we store emotions.
Yep.
So when you are twerking, when you're shimmying, you are literally releasing trauma, releasing stored emotions from your hips. When you're bending your knees, you're crouching on the floor, you're connecting to earth, you're connecting to the womb, you're restoring your energy. And that's why it's not even just an African dance, but in Middle Eastern dance, in Latin American dance, salsa dance, bachata, every single dance form has some form of hip movement to it. This is also why zebras, when they're running away from a lion and they're about to get eaten and they make it into the nick of time, they shake their bodies off, release the trauma, and they come back to homeostasis. So I started to realize that as I was doing this, I was healing myself through all of these generations of collective trauma that now we know with epigenetics is actually stored within our systems. And I realized that twerking, shimmying, undulating, shaking truly is a spiritual practice. And now I share it as much as I can.
You know what I don't like, Steve? I don't like how women will go get a nose piercing, a couple of tattoos, and have a soft voice and think all of a sudden I'm a shaman. You know?
Yeah, she's probably got like a grand master degree in yoga.
Yeah,
too,
bro, she has like 2 bachelors in gender studies and astrology.
Yeah, she said a lot of things that don't seem to be like founded on anything. Like she was like, well, we all know now that your trauma is stored in your hips.
Yeah, like we know this for a fact, apparently. like the research is all there.
Yeah, it is. It's been proven now that trauma is stored actually in your hips.
Exactly, and we can measure trauma by, well, let's not talk about that yet.
Yeah, and apparently, shaking your hips is how you release the trauma. You get it out of your body, and then I guess it just goes into the air. I don't know.
I guess so. I mean, it's spiritual release. You know, it's your chakras opening up. You know, and you're getting rid of all that excrement and that spiritual bile.
Yeah, you know, there's actually an interesting history to twerking. From what I understand, and Trinity is actually going to tell us a little bit more about his opinion on it. But I know that Lizzo once did a TED Talk where she talked about the history of twerking. So she had connected twerking to a West African dance called mapoka. And this was traditionally performed by women when they were, celebrating or when they were getting married, or sometimes they would even do it as a form of religious worship. So I guess there are some spiritual roots to twerking, but I'm not necessarily convinced of what this lady is saying.
Yeah, I'm more on the, until I see this, maybe they'll have a compelling argument, but I'm under the impression that a lot of this is just taking, ancient tribal dances and just saying that, oh, that looks like twerking, so what we're doing makes sense.
Yeah.
Rather than just admitting that, hey, I kind of like to be ratchet. But you know what? I might be wrong.
Yeah, some people say, like, I've seen in some Christian circles, they say, like, twerking is the dance of Jezebel. And Jezebel is like a demonic woman.
Oh, okay. That way they get the term Jezebel hussy, like you're just a heretic.
Yeah, Jezebel was like a demonic woman in the Bible, and she did a bunch of demonic things, I guess.
Okay, she just was demoning it up everywhere.
Yeah, she was twerking. She was twerking on Solomon's. Never mind.
I heard Solomon had that dog in him. Is that true?
I mean, he was the wisest king in the world, so he had to be something. But so I mean, I don't necessarily trust Lizzo's perspective on anything after that last video we did about her, but I do care about Trinity's perspective. So Trinity, what do you think about twerking, man? Do you think that it has like some kind of spiritual root, or how do you feel?
Yeah, we heard you're quite the connoisseur of twerking.
So twerking does have a deep history, and I wouldn't say maybe it's necessarily spiritual, but I do think that it probably is more than just, dancing there going on. It is a real history behind it, and it wasn't always like a dance just for women. It was originally a dance. Well, I know in America, in New Orleans, when it first came to hip hop, it was for all people. It was for men, women, and children. It wasn't just for women to twerk. So, and you know, New Orleans definitely does have like a spiritual background as well, especially with like, you know, all their voodoo and stuff going on, stuff like that they be talking about. But so I would say the lady's probably onto something, you know.
Personally, I don't necessarily know if I want to live in a community where twerking is for men, women, and children. It sounds terrible.
Do I want to live in a world where
Yeah.
I mean, I will admit, because I've heard it before myself, that like the dance itself has like roots in ancient like African tribal dances, maybe across its cultural boundaries, and you know there's some, you know, in like roots in bachata or salsa, you know, it kind of like, you know, the idea of moving your hips and dancing. But I feel like I have a feeling that that's more coincidence than them being like this spiritual link between wild cultures move their hips when they dance or like shake their butts.
I think it's just naturally people are going to move their hips when they dance because it's attractive when a woman does it.
Yeah.
Like regardless of the culture you're from, I feel like, you know, there's belly dancing in the Middle East and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to find it more attractive when a woman is shaking her hips because that's where her, you know, her genitals are, I guess. You
Yeah.
know? Like it's just like you can zone in on what you're interested in, I guess.
I mean that could be true. Like I said, I think it's that, but it's also just, you know, you look better dancing when you engage like your hips. I think that's just kind of like a part of what gives it its aesthetic appeal.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to argue that it probably doesn't have historical roots. Like, you know, dances evolve over time. That's the natural flow of how like trends pick up. But in terms of it's like, you know, the idea where it's like now you're trying to apply spiritual jargon where you're saying like, oh, that's because that's where trauma is stored, and you're actually opening up your, you know, your chakras and releasing like all that trauma out, you know, like that's why zebras shake their hips when they get chased down. I'm like, well, hold on.
Yeah, that's a little bit ridiculous.
I don't know.
mean, are they doing that because maybe anatomically a zebra needs to move its hips to run?
You know, yeah. Like I think, you know, I'm like, hey, my cat shakes off when he gets wet. Is that him releasing trauma too?
He's like, remember that time you pet me a little too hard? He's like starts twerking in front of you.
Yeah, you know it's funny because like when you like pat a cat's butt, it like it naturally, or like pet it always raises up, like its behind always raises up. And I'm like, maybe that's like what that is. Maybe he's like spiritually releasing trauma.
Yeah, what I don't really like necessarily, I guess, and this is just a little bit from my religious perspective. I don't like how, like with a lot of like new age, different spirituality type things, it's always like you can apply spirituality to anything. And I guess that's where I find value in religious tradition, because if everything is spiritual, right? If you can't really delineate what's spiritual and what's not, then there's kind of, I don't know, I think there's like less power in having that spirituality.
Yeah, like
right, like when twerking's spiritual, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, like if everything's spiritual, then the significance gets killed, you know?
Yeah.
But what's Lizzo's take on this? I really want to know.
Well, no, Lizzo. So we went over Lizzo, but now we have this other article by Let Go, Let Goddess. Actually, yeah, letgoletgoddess.com. Can you zoom in on this a little bit? Control plus or control scroll.
Let go. So this is a website.
Yeah, Let Go, Let Goddess. She's talking about the sacred origins of twerking. So she says, I know what you're thinking. How can something like twerking be sacred?
I am thinking
a
that.
dance that has become infamous due to Miley Cyrus's embarrassing display at the VMAs. Now, I don't plan to go into an analysis or outcry against her stunt, but I wish to reclaim the dance for what it is. A sacred movement for women's empowerment and health.
You know what's funny? I know immediately this was written by a white woman because she actually thinks Miley Cyrus made twerking popular.
I was thinking the same exact thing.
I was like, wait, what?
Like, yeah, you remember when Miley Cyrus twerked at the VMAs? That was when twerking became a thing.
That's when people paid attention. Thanks, Miley. You really did it. You really brought twerking to mainstream.
So she said, so-called twerking has many links to the dances of the African diaspora, especially the Mapuka from the Ivory Coast in West Africa. Show says these movements build muscle and control of the pelvis floor and core. Muscle is very important when it comes to childbirth and overall health. That's actually a kind of good point. Like twerking more often will make it easier for you to give childbirth.
I mean, but that's like saying exercising will do the same thing. Yeah. Like just movement in general.
Yeah, I mean, technically, you know? Right?
It doesn't have to be twerking. Like you can literally do squats every day and get probably the exact same results.
Let me read this other part too. So on another level, these dances help to circulate Qi, or life force energy
Yeah, that's chakra.
in our lower tension. In Chinese Taoism, our lower tension, located 3 finger widths below our navel, is where our life force and sexual energy is stored and generated. Oh, so maybe they read this article and that's how they knew where the trauma was stored.
Yeah, you know what I always notice when people want to make things sound more valid, they always link it back to like some ancient philosophy.
Yeah, it's got to be China.
Yeah, it's got to be ancient China, like Taoism, or
Yeah.
like you're quoting Socrates. It's like, really? Socrates was super concerned about twerking.
Yeah, that would be
the Chinese.
That would be great though if Socrates was like, if a tree twerks in the forest and no one's there to see.
I feel
it.
like if we look through Nostradamus' textbooks, we'll see like just a painting of like a woman bent over. Like he knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah. So let me read a little bit more about this nonsense. These dances circulate energy through our first and second chakras, which are connected to our feeling of safety and creativity, respectively. Belly dancing is another form of dance that is great for women's health and spirituality, as the dance embodies movements natural to women's bodies. The isolations performed in these dances bring strength to the reproductive system. When energy is flowing properly in this area, stagnant energy is dispersed, helping to prevent or alleviate feminine reproductive issues. Yeah, so, hey, man, that's like...
Yeah.
You heard it here first, I guess.
Right.
Apparently, twerking more will help reduce like feminine reproductive issues. It'll get your lower tensions in action. Your chakras are going to be on 10. Your chi is going to be so liberated.
Oh man,
Yeah.
man. Will my
Your chi.
Yeah.
will my energies be aligned?
Hopefully. I
Okay.
think so, yeah. So you should start twerking, actually, Zo.
I probably should. I mean, with all these benefits, I definitely need to make sure I'm ready for childbirth.
Like you're just next to your wife in the bed twerking. It's like, oh, baby, I'm getting us ready. I'm doing this for you.
This is for you. Do you feel it, baby? Do you feel my energy?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like that's just what I don't really understand about certain like communities that, they want this stuff to sort of be more true than it probably is.
Yeah.
Just because it's based mostly on like an observation. Like I'm sure there was some guy somewhere who studied a bunch of women in ancient China who had them do something similar to twerking, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, your cheese looking real good right now." And
Yeah,
then they wrote that. Then they wrote that down, and now this white woman is 3,000 years later talking about it. And there's actually one more little quirk. What would the word be? Quip. Scroll up. The bold part. Keep going. Right here.
Yeah.
I believe all women should do dances that involve isolating and rotating their hips and pelvis like the Jamaican wine every day. Dances like the wine and twerk are often done without consciousness, but when we add the level of awareness that not only are we having fun, we are healing ourselves, we can revolutionize our health and sexuality. Like when I read this for the first time, I'm like, bro, this sounds like a men's psyop. Like they're just trying to get more women to start twerking in their daily lives because it's like a health thing.
I wouldn't even be surprised if like this wasn't written by like that guy we saw in the last video, the guy who was a passport bro and was like, yeah, you could take a girl behind, it costs some money. Like I feel like he would write this pretend to be a woman.
Exactly.
But like I think this is just a symptom of like first world problems, like to its natural extreme, because we don't really have much to worry about. So when you don't really have anything to worry about or anything really to talk about, you just start assigning meaning to anything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I don't have anything that really has that much effect on the world, but I do like to twerk.
Right.
So like, what if I can give that meaning and make people really get involved in that? Then I'll feel like I have a purpose, rather than just, just being just liking to dance by myself. I can't just do that. That's not fun.
Yeah.
There's only one cheat I think of when I think about twerking.
What's that?
You know what chi that is.
Oh. I get it. That's funny. Yeah, man. I just have like one closing thought, I guess. I think that when you sort of isolate situations like this, because twerking is spiritual, I think what else did they say was spiritual recently? Oh no, I'm thinking like racist. A lot of times they make things racist instead of spiritual.
Yeah, very easy to confuse the two.
Yeah.
Instead of spirituality.
But really, I just think that with different types of, I guess, historical spiritual things, it's sort of it. I think that it becomes more or less like people are just trying to fill a void spiritually where they need something, like you were saying, sort of like if you don't have any purpose in life, then you're gonna go to like, oh, yoga.
Yeah.
Like yoga, exactly. Like yoga is what I was thinking of. So like people go to a yoga class where all they're doing is stretching effectively, but then it becomes like a religious experience for them. And I met a lot of these people when I was in rehab where it was like through yoga, they're not like studying Hinduism or anything like that. It's literally just like by going and stretching and breathing and going and doing stuff like that. They're just like, oh wow, this is like such a spiritually enlightening experience. And then they like get addicted to it, and then they start applying it throughout their lives, and it probably does give them an improvement. But I think a lot of it is just a void that usually would be filled with any religion, you know. So that's just my thought. But do you have anyone else like any more takes on the spirituality of twerking?
Not really.
Yeah. When you said that hum, I'm like, maybe it has something to do with like low vibrational noises. Like if I do any activity and then I throw in a bunch of low toned like hums in there, the people might actually start to think like, you know, God is speaking to them. Yeah,
something like that. Or you know, it's similar to worship. I mean, like if you go to like like a Roman Catholic church, they have things where they do like what's it called, like hymns. They do hymns where it's like they have like a choir where it's basically like
like
that's what it is. Yeah,
that stuff.
Yeah, like stuff you hear in video games.
I can't imagine seeing some females twerking and that sound is playing.
That would be amazing.
It's just all harmonic and then just cheeks
just cheeks is slap. You can hear the clapping.
Right.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. All right, well, so that's been the spirituality of twerking. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. You can check us out on all video platforms, all audio platforms, Spotify, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. It means a lot to us when you do. If you could also consider subscribing to us on Patreon, we'd appreciate that as well, because on Patreon, we have extra content. You can see the episodes early, and we have My Black Friends podcast available. My Black Friends is a podcast that we still do. It's about 80 episodes in so far. It's more comedy based, so a little more similar to this, but also this show is a little more topical. The Cold Podcast, we have, you know, usual topics that we touch on every day. Yeah. And yeah, so also follow us on social media, all those good things. And actually, you know, Roosevelt, did you have anything you wanted to share, content wise, or
for what you mean?
The Tinker Pro? No,
not really.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so, you know, thanks for watching. We got to pop out of here.
All right. Peace.